In today's video, I'm going to go over my top 10 things to consider when designing and building a game room. Hey guys, I'm Evil 8 Rich, and if we're just meeting, it is my passion to help you guys learn how to design and build a game room on a budget. So what I'm going to do today is I'm going to go off the list. I have a list here on the right, so if you catch me looking off to the right, I'm not ignoring you. I'm just looking at my list. The 10 things that I consider important when you're designing and building a game room. So what I want to do is I'm going to go from read them 1 to 10, and then we'll double back and break them down a little more. All right, so number 1 is going to be, what kind of game room do you want? You want a retro game, you want a modern game, or you want them both? So determining what kind of game room you want is, in my opinion, one of the number 1 things that you need to consider. All right. So number 2 is, what kind of game room do you have, or what kind of room do you have? It's not a game room yet, right? What kind of room do you have? Is it in a basement, cellar? I don't know if they're the same, right? Or upstairs, downstairs, ground floor, whatever. What kind of room do you have, and where is your room is really important in determining where you're gonna have it, right? Okay, so number 3 is, how do you want your room to function? Do you want it to be hardwired, or do you want to be will you pull things out, plug them in as you go along, or do you want, like I said, either hardwired or plug and play, I guess you call it. So depending how you want your room to be, you got to determine how you want your room to function. All right, number 4 is, how much money do you have? Obviously, you have to have money to do this, to do anything, that is. So how much money do you have? How much money you want to put into it? So how much can you invest? So how much money you have is number 4. Number 5, what kind of racks do you want? Do you want metal racks like I have? You want to build your own? You want wood racks from IKEA? I mean, what kind of racks do you want to have is really important. That's number 5. Number 6 is, what kind of shelves do you want? Do you want to build shelves? Do you want to buy shelves? I mean, I have a little bit of both. I mean, you have to decide what kind of shelves you want to have. What kind, you just have to decide what kind of shelves you want to use, what's going to fit into your budget. Okay? So that's number 6. Number 7, excuse me, is, what do you want your room to look like? You want your room to be complete arcade systems everywhere. You want it to be, a retro-looking room. You want it to be a more modern-looking room. So what do you want your room to look like overall is number 7. Okay, number 8 is, what kind of sound system do you want? Do you want to have a surround sound? You don't want to have a surround sound. So what do you want to have as far as sound goes? That's number 8. And number 9 is, what kind of lighting do you want? You want to have LEDs all around the room, just regular old school lights at the corner. So what kind of lighting do you want is also number important. And number 10, I'm going to hold off on, because I want to double back on that one. It will make sense at the end. So now let's go to the top again. Number 1, and we'll break them down a little bit more. Okay, so number 1, what kind of game room do you want? So like I said, do you want a modern room? You want a retro room? That's a big deal, because that determines whether you're going to have a CRT in your room, or you're going to have both. Like I have a CRT and I have a flat screen. I have them both. So if you're going to do a retro and modern room, both, in my opinion, you should have a CRT in your room. So that determines a lot. So depending on what kind of room you want, depends on what you're going to have in the room, obviously. So what kind of room do you want is really important. So it has a lot to do with whether you're going to have a CRT or not. If you want it just to be a modern room, you're going to have a bunch of modern TVs, flat screens all over, like in a bar or something, or you want a bunch of arcade stuff in there. So you got to determine what kind of room you want, which is going to determine what kind of stuff you have in it, obviously. Okay, so that's pretty simple. Number 2 is, what kind of room do you have? So you have to look at it, because if you have a room that's upstairs, you have to remember, when you buy couches, if you want couches and stuff, you make sure that you can get them up there. They're going to fit and everything. If you have a ground floor, it's not that big of a deal. You have wood floors, you have carpet, you have concrete, down in a cellar somewhere. The wall's even finished. So you have to look at all that, because you might have to do all the drywall and everything on the walls before you can even get going. So what kind of room you have is really important. So you have to keep that in mind. Okay, so number 3 is, how do you want your room to function? My room, everything is wired in. I have a CRT over here and a flat screen over there, and everything is wired in. My CRT, my flat screen, my receiver, and my 2 power supplies are the only thing are wired. And they're wired into a GFCI plug into the wall, which is a receptacle with a breaker. Everything else is not even powered until I need it. When I want to play certain systems, I flip switches and everything works. And I'll show you all that down in the future. So determining how you want your room to function is really important because then it determines what you're going to buy. So if you want your room to function a certain way, like if you want to take these, like I have two Hyperkin parts here. This is for an Xbox right here, and this is for the Dreamcast, both Hyperkin parts. And these things convert those systems to the modern HD TVs. So then if you want to do that, you have to consider those parts you have to buy. Those are probably the only ones that I did like that. Most of them, I keep them where they go. The older systems that are AVs, I put them on the old school TV, like the Genesis and stuff like that. But then you have to consider switch boxes. This is the switch box right here for AV, 8-port. And this is a switch box for component. So you have to consider all these different things. And then if you want to take, like I have this part here is a Hyperkin, and no, I'm not sponsored by Hyperkin, even though this is a Hyperkin hat. But if anybody at Hyperkin watching, if you want to send me products, I'll review them. But I'll only tell the truth here. So if they're no good, I'll tell you. But anyway, this part here is for the TurboGrafx, and if you that part there, you can put TurboGrafx, and then you can put it so you have the AV. It takes it from RF to AV connections. So you have to consider all that stuff when you're designing the room and how you want it to function. If you want it to function a certain way, you're going to need some kind of boxes anyway, but it's going to determine what kind and how many on how you have it wired up. So determining how you want your room to function is really important. So that's number 3. And number 4 is how much money you have. Obviously, that's a given, how much money you want to put in the room. That's going to change. That's going to vary. So we just leave it at that. How much money you have, it's pretty much a given. It's different for everybody. All right, so number 5 is what kind of racks. You want to have the metal rack like I have, which I love because they're adjustable, or do you want to have IKEA racks or whatever? My suggestion is if you buy wood, which is more expensive, I mean, these weren't cheap, but the wood is more expensive, is make sure you buy the racks that are not just wide enough for the consoles, is that they're tall enough around, because if you don't have enough circulation going around, they generate too much heat and they get too hot. And my other suggestion is don't get black. If you get black, most of the consoles for some reason are dark or black, you're not going to see them. So get something either wood color or white and you'll be able to see them better. So determining what kind of racks you want to buy or build is important. Okay, so that's number 5. Number 6 is what kind of shelves you want. Okay, you have all different types of shelves. I have shelves that I built behind you here that are adjustable and are against the wall. I have these ones from IKEA that I bought. So you have different types of material. This is the shelf here that I'm going to use. This is the full size, and it will make sense when you see the room. That's going to go in the other room. You have different ways of bracketing them. This one, it screws to the wall, this angle. And then you have other ones like this that have track, and you hook them on the track, and they're more adjustable. So when you get shelves, you have to decide what kind of shelves you want. So you want to build them, you want to buy them, determine what kind of shelves you want is really, really important. That's number 6. Number 7 is how do you want your room to look overall? Do you want to have couches in it? Do you want arcade systems in it? Do you want chairs? So the overall look of your room, how do you want your room to look? You got to have these things in mind as you start going in, so you're not wasting money buying things and then not wanting them afterwards. Okay, so we're going to go to number 8, which is a sound system. How do you want your sound? Do you want a sound system? Do you want a surround sound? I got a speaker right here. These speakers didn't cost me anything. My son, he had these, so I got them for nothing. And I have to, obviously that one's not wired yet, but then you have to buy a receiver if you want to have the surround sound. So if you want to have a surround sound, you got to keep that in mind too as far as cost, or you just want to have sound coming out of your TV. So what kind of surround sound or what kind of sound do you want in your room? All right, so number 9 is lighting. What kind of lights? LED lights. I got right here this LED light somebody gave me from Walmart. It's a USB LED mood light. I haven't used it yet, but you want to do that all around the room, or you want to just have the regular old school lights? I just have these ones I'm using now, and I haven't got around to the lighting, but determining what kind of lighting you want is important as well. That's in the overall division. So what kind of lighting do you want to use? That helps a lot. So all the stuff that I'm showing, the switch boxes and all that stuff, I'm going to put descriptions I'm going to put links in the descriptions. Said it backwards. There'll be links in the descriptions for this stuff. So if you need it or you want any of it, it'll be down there. Okay. So number 10 is the one I didn't talk about earlier. Is real quick story is I used to build models, and because I'm a perfectionist in a sense, is I wouldn't be able to get any sleep. I'd be up at 3, 4 in the morning trying to fix one little piece because it isn't perfect, and I'd drive myself nuts to where I stopped doing it. So then I got into model railroading, because model railroading is a little easier in a sense as far as that goes, because when you're designing and building a hill or a mountain or trees and stuff, there's no such thing as a perfect tree, no such thing as a perfect mountain. So you build it, shape it, move on. Made it easier for me. Well, the reason I'm bringing that up is because in the model railroading world, railroading world, geez, they have a term, and the term they use all the time. If you've done model railroading, you'll know the term. It's basically your layout is never done. So number 10 is along those terms is that your room will never be done. Keep in mind that your room is never. You're not gonna have a middle, beginning, middle, and end. You're not. It's not gonna end. Your room is never gonna be done. So keep that in mind when you're doing this. That your room is never gonna be done. It's always gonna change. Money's gonna change. Situation, financial, living situations, everything changes. So your room is constantly gonna change, and that's the cool part about it. That's why I love doing these videos. That's why I want to do them. I don't play the games a whole bunch. I like designing the room and keep changing it and moving things around and building it and finding games. I have a $90 game I paid $5 for. That's what I like doing, going out and finding things, and that's why I'm going to do vlogging and stuff like that and trying to find games as well. That's what I'm passionate about. So keep in mind your room is never done. It's always going to keep moving and keep changing. All right, guys, so that's my top 10 things to consider when you're designing and building a game room. If you got value out of this video, please hit that thumbs up. If you like the video, hit the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed, please do. And if you'd share my video, I greatly appreciate it. So this is the first time I'm using a brand new camera. It's a Canon M50. I got a boom mic up here. So hopefully it sounds good and it looks good. I've got to stop looking at that screen because I have a tendency of looking at that screen instead of looking straight at you guys. But I'll get used to it. So like I said, if you like the video, hit the like, haven't subscribed, please do. And like I say every week, in my opinion, if you're not breaking the control, you're not playing hard enough. Bye.